Welcome, everyone, to the Dzogchen Foundation Meditation Town Hall. Guiding us today is Lama Roger Walsh. It's always a treat and a privilege to have him with us. Saturday, September 21st from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. is the day-long virtual meditation retreat, which should be a great warm-up for the full day retreat that's coming. We also have a series of master classes coming up. This is the fifth series, and that's starting in September. I always sign up for all of those. And then back to the orange one, which is the week-long meditation retreat, October 27th to Friday, November 1st at Wisdom House in Litchfield, Connecticut. I used to live in that area and I love the rolling wooded hills around Litchfield. It's one of my favorite places. I'm afraid that we might be a little bit late for the fall colors, but I don't know. And with that, Lama Roger, it's yours.
Well, thank you very much and welcome everyone. Let's see if I can get everyone on gallery here so I can see everyone. Ah, there you are. Ah, how nice to see each other. Ah, yeah. Let's take a bow and just take a breath and take a moment to just feel gratitude for this chance to be together and spend an hour in practice. What better use could we have for this time? So maybe we can just take a few breaths. And maybe as we appreciate this gift we have, we can just relax and allow our awareness to open. And we can also consciously relax, and we can maybe take some slow, deep breaths if you'd like. All the while just resting with an open awareness. And if you'd like to get even more relaxed, then you might notice that the in-breath, you can take an in-breath, and then on the out-breath, you can just let go. The in-breath is an active process, contracting muscles, but the out-breath can just be a letting go. So breathe in and let go. Breathe in and let go into this moment. Breathe in and let go into awareness. If we had to distill our Dzogchen, the treasured part of our Dzogchen practice, it might be relax with awareness. Oh. And you might like to experiment and go to an even deeper level of relaxation. And so on the next breath, when you breathe in and you let go, just let a sigh emerge at the end. So you breathe in and breathe in let go. Ah. And you might want to keep a relatively straight back. It's that posture of erect spine and all the rest of the body relaxed, which facilitates the combination of relaxed alertness, which is what we want. Good.
All right. Well, do you want me to hit that channel real quick?
Oh. Maybe you could mute yourself for now.
Roger, I muted everybody, so you need to unmute.
Okay. So from that relaxed, alert place, just take a moment to allow yourself to feel grateful for this opportunity of being together, to being with this wonderful community, and to have the chance of practicing together. We can appreciate our good fortune. And in appreciating our good fortune and allowing ourselves to feel gratitude and joy, there's a natural tendency for those emotions, like so many positive emotions, love, joy, compassion. There's a natural desire to share them. So just take a moment to think how wonderful it would be if everyone else was as fortunate as we are. How wonderful that would be. And out of that recognition of, how wonderful it would be if everyone could be as fortunate as this. This is an entry into the Bodhisattva aspiration, which is born out of the wish that all beings should be joyful and awakened, free of pain and sorrow. So out of our own gratitude and joy, that can be a doorway into the recognition of that the Bodhisattva aspiration is something, not something we have to force, but something we actually deeply want. We want ourselves to be awake or joyful, and we naturally want to share that. May all beings be happy, joyful, awake, alert, clear, untroubled. This is the highest aspiration that the human mind can conceive, wishing the highest good for all conscious creatures, and recognizing that the highest good is the welfare, the well-being, and awakening of all. And recognize that as a natural desire. Why settle for less than that aspiration? And the aspiration that we may play a role in ensuring the welfare and well-being and awakening of all beings. We may find our way to help in this great project. And perhaps now we can recite the Bodhisattva aspiration. And let's do it in English. In Buddha, Dharma, and supreme spiritual community, we go for refuge until fully enlightened by the power of all six perfections, from generosity to non-dual wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize Buddhahood. So, until we ourselves are fully awake, where do we turn for guidance and refuge? We turn, and maybe Mel, if you keep that back up, I think it might be helpful for the moment. Where can we turn for guidance and support and direction in the midst of this troubled world? Well, we can turn to three things. There are three things we can trust. One is the Buddha, the awakened ones, and even our own awakened nature. We can trust in the Dharma, which has many translations, many connotations. It's the way things are. It's the deep principle of life and reality. It's the teachings. These we can turn to. These we can look for guidance. And the supreme spiritual community, the people who are dedicating their lives to realizing these, to awakening to their own Buddha nature, to living in alignment with and as the Dharma. These are people who are committed to the highest good. These are people we can trust. These are people we can go to for guidance. And that's our community. None of us are pretending to be fully awake, but everyone here has committed their lives to moving in that direction. And that's a skillful way to hold ideals. The Bodhisattva aspiration can feel overwhelming if we set it up as a goal we have to achieve. But that's not a skillful use of ideals. Ideals are more skillfully thought of as compasses, or the North Pole, or the North Star. It's like, that's the direction I want my life to go. I want my life to move in the direction of greater awareness and wakefulness and love and compassion and joy and generosity. But you never reach the North Star. But it's a direction, it's a guide. So the Bodhisattva aspiration is a guide for our lives, a pointer, the way we want to move, the qualities we want to cultivate. And we do that by cultivating 6 specific qualities. not only these six, but these six are emphasized: ethics, generosity, starting with those, moving through to practices of meditation, concentration, and finally, profound wisdom. And we do that not just for ourselves alone, because we're not alone. We do it for the sake of everyone, inspired by the idea that any little practice we do serves us, but eventually also serves everyone. So for the sake of all beings, may we realize Buddhahood. Or perhaps better, may we recognize Buddhahood. Okay. Thank you, Mel. So, feel free to either stay in a kind of formal meditation, or to just in a more relaxed, open awareness that isn't so formal, but is still a meditation. I want to talk a little bit about and offer some some thoughts and some questions. But I encourage you to continue your practice during this time, and to simply remain as best you can relaxed and open, allowing the awareness to stay open, so that the words you're not trying to figure out intellectually what I might say, or trying to figure out your own responses to it. Rather, just let the words wash through you and trust your own innate wisdom. That is, our psyche, we have reservoirs of wisdom far greater than we usually appreciate. And so you can trust your mind, you can trust yourself that simply by opening to words which hopefully will be helpful, that your mind will use them as will serve you best. And what I'd like to just bring up today is the question of how we can respond most effectively to our social and global pains and disasters and suffering that are going on. It's often said these days that the world has gone mad. But the idea that the world is insane is a very ancient one. In our tradition, we talk of delusion as being a fundamental aspect of the unawakened mind. And delusion is a false belief. And that's the basis of a kind of insanity. And we have practiced enough to see how the untrained mind is disturbed, agitated, chasing after this desire and that desire, colored by emotions, unable to sustain concentration. And we look out on the world, and once we understand what the untrained mind is like, then the world actually, one understands why the world is the way it is. Our technological powers have become so great that when we look out on the world, what we see are the expressions of our own individual and collective psychological immaturities and dysfunctions. And we have created the world in our own image, the image of our own minds, a world of conflict and pain and sorrow, so much of it unnecessary. And what that means is that our global problems are actually global symptoms. They're symptoms of our individual collective immaturities. And that suggests that if we are to really and truly help heal the world, we're going to not only have to address the problems ranging from hunger to conflict to weapons of mass destruction to ecological degradation, we're also going to have to heal our individual and collective minds which source these problems. And the beauty of our practice is that it cultivates the very qualities of heart and mind that are so essential for this healing. The very qualities of heart and mind that enable us to become more effective instruments of service. And as we look out on the world, the question that comes up and that tugs at each and every one of us is, what can I do with this enormous amount of suffering? What's something I can do? And basically, it's the question, how can I help? And it's a beautiful question which opens us to the world's pain and sorrow and calls forth our own care and compassion. And I'm sure all of us have been wrestling with this question in our own ways, looking for ways that we can contribute, no matter how small, how apparently insignificant. What can I do? And I want to suggest that this is a beautiful question to reflect on, and not the final question. There are still deeper ones. But it's very important to know what kind of question this is that we're asking. So the question, what can I do? How can I help? It's really important to know as you open to this question and let it work its effects on you, that there are two kinds of questions. There are knowledge questions and there are wisdom questions. Knowledge questions have a one-time answer. Is it raining outside? Look out the window. End of question. But wisdom questions are more like Zen koans. Every time you ask the question, it has the potential for taking you deeper into the question, deeper into yourself, and deeper into life. So the question, what can I do, is a wisdom question. And wisdom questions don't have a one-time answer. So we will ask, you've probably been asking this question for years. And probably as you've continued to ask it, your answers have shifted as your life has shifted. They've deepened as you've deepened. And they've grown more effective as you've seen ways to be effective. And hopefully this is a question we'll be asking for the rest of our lives. What can I do? Knowing that today's answer is probably beautiful and valid and completely appropriate, and tomorrow's answer may be different. Zen talks about Zen, I'm sure you're all aware of Zen koans, the kind of questions which are designed to befuddle the intellect and move us beyond the intellect into awareness. And in Zen, they talk about Genji koans, koans which life itself presents us. And the world is giving us a Genji koan. The suffering and turmoil and insanity of the world is a Genji koan, asking us to feel into how we can best respond. But I want to suggest that there are additional questions which can deepen the first one. And the second question is, what do I feel called to contribute? This is an important complementary question because it recognizes that each of us is uniquely sensitive to some kinds of suffering and inspired by some kinds of action. All of us have particular capacities and talents, and all of us have our different callings. And we're far more likely to be energized and impassioned by responses that call and inspire us. So each of us is therefore asked to listen for and respond to our unique call. Here's the really good news about service and bodhisattva aspiration. It doesn't have to be a sacrifice. Service, like all the great virtues, turns out to be enlightened self-interest. It turns out that when we serve, it brings us one of the most profound senses of satisfaction we can have. And if done skillfully, and probably next week we'll talk about how we can respond most skillfully. When service is done out of an open heart and a compassionate call, then it is deeply, profoundly rewarding. And it really does become recognized as enlightened self-interest. It serves us and it serves everyone. So we have two questions to reflect on. One, what can I do? And what do I feel called to do? A third question, what's the most strategic thing I can do? And again, this is a wisdom question to be reflected on over time, without the expectation we'll come up with the answer immediately. You know, when some years ago when I practiced in Burma and then I went to work in Mother Teresa's center in India, and I was just blown away by the suffering there. It just fried me. And then I came back to the United States and shortly after saw the film The Last Epidemic about what a nuclear war would do. And it just again blew me out of the water, just fried me. And I just wrestled with the question of I've got to do something. What can I do? And it took about a year before the answer for me at that time came up that I could write a book on the psychology of human survival. What it would take for us to, what we would need to understand about our own psyches in order to respond more effectively. It was a little contribution. It had its impact. But it took a year to really get clear on, that's what the most strategic thing I could do. So don't have any expectation for immediate responses to this question. The question, what's the most strategic thing I can do, is something to be sat with, to be asked over time. And maybe for you, the answer will come immediately. But maybe for others it won't, like as it didn't for me. Well, there's a question, what's the most strategic thing I can do? It's looking for what kind of contribution will leverage my skills and capacities and connections so as to have the greatest impact. And over 2,000 years ago, Archimedes, the great Greek philosopher, said, give me a place to stand and I'll move the earth. That is, if you give me a place where I can have most impact. And nowadays, this is known as the trim tab effect from Buckminster Fuller. It's the idea of applying force at the most effective place. And if you look at say a huge 747 plane that's got an enormous rudder at the back, and there's no way they can turn that rudder with hydraulics. The force when they're flying at 500 miles an hour, there are tons of pressure on that rudder. But if you look at the rudder, at the back of the rudder is this tiny little rudder. And that tiny little rudder is a trim tab. And you move the trim tab one way, the rudder moves the other way, and the whole plane moves. And the trim tabbing, which is Buckminster Fuller's concept, is of applying our contribution, our leverage, our impact at the most strategic point so as to maximize our impact. And Buckminster Fuller's gravestone has his epitaph is, "Call me trim tab." And he was. He was a wonderful trim tab. So what can I do? What do I feel called to do? Question number 2. Question number 3, what's the most strategic thing I can do? And the 4th question, and this really is a lifelong question, how can I live my life so as to be an optimal instrument of service? How can I live my life so as to be an optimal instrument of service? And here we're looking not just for a single contribution, beautiful as that is, but for a life of contribution. Effectively, for us, this is another way of opening into the Bodhisattva aspiration. How do I live my life so as to be an optimal instrument of service? And not thinking that means sacrifice. Yeah. One of the real great secrets of service is it's okay to have a good time. In fact, you're more likely to be effective if you have a good time. And people are more likely to want to be around you and listen to what you have to say and work with you if you're joyous rather than if you're dour and sacrificing. And this means, so the question, how can I live my life so as to be an optimal instrument of service, means not only recognizing our most strategic contribution now, but also exploring how we can cultivate our capacities so as to see more clearly and act more effectively throughout life. Oh. Now I'd like to invite you into a couple of meditations, building on these ideas, these questions. So get yourself comfortable. Take some slow, deep breaths again. Again, probably you might want to keep the back erect so as to stay alert and clear. Alert, clear, relaxed. That's what we want. Beautiful. And you might like to close your eyes for this, as I'm going to invite you to hold the world in your awareness. And we want to end with the suffering, but we start with the suffering of just opening, holding the world in your awareness and just thinking of the enormous suffering there and the many kinds of suffering. There are major wars going on now. There are people who are hungry, homeless, alone. There are so many people who are sick. There are so many people who are self-tormented by their own untrained mind. So many people living in fear. So many lost in depression. So many people ravaged by guilt. Not knowing how to work with their own minds and bring healing to themselves and others. And as you open to these many forms of suffering, what do you feel called to contribute? Where do you feel called to contribute? Is there some kind of suffering that really calls you? And let your heart just feel that compassion, that care. Feel the desire, may you be free of pain and sorrow. May you be free of pain and sorrow. A loving warmth for these suffering people, these suffering creatures. May you be free of pain and sorrow. And just open and feel if there's something, some particular contribution you could make. And if you wish, you can use this awareness of pain and that feeling of compassion, that feeling of loving warmth. Oh, may you be free of pain and sorrow. May you be free of suffering. Just gently inspire you towards a life of contribution and service. And to cultivating the qualities of heart and mind that enable you to bring joy to yourself and to others, and to heal yourself and others. And take a moment now to think of some, is there some quality or capacity of heart or mind that would enable you to respond more effectively, that would enable you to become a more effective instrument of service, of help, of healing, of joy? Is there some quality of heart and mind you wish you had? With that, just allow yourself to recognize a particular quality that would enable you to be more joyous, more effective, more helpful, And now I invite you to think of someone who exemplifies that quality, that capacity. Someone, perhaps someone you know, someone you've heard of, perhaps somewhat an historical saint or sage or Buddha, someone who embodies that quality. And see that person in front of you. And visualize that person dissolving inward into light. And bring that light over your head. And bring it down through the crown chakra, down the central channel around the spinal cord, into your heart. And when it reaches, that ball of light reaches your heart, let it explode through your body-mind, filling your body-mind with that quality, that capacity. And that quality, that capacity is now one of your great strengths. Something you can bring to each situation, each interaction, enabling you to be more present, more effective, more joyful, more contributory. Beautiful. And now see yourself going out into the world with embodying that quality. See yourself moving out into the world in your daily activities, in your contribution, just having that quality. And come back to that quality again. And take a posture which really expresses that quality. Allow your body to move into a posture which really expresses that quality, heart and mind. And feel what it's like to be in that posture, how it intensifies the quality. And know that at any time you wish, if you adopt this posture, you can evoke that quality. Beautiful. Well done. And now, just bring your awareness back to this present moment here of us together. And now I invite you to share in any way you'd like. There's a beautiful gift that happens when people share their deep aspirations, such as these questions call forth. If it's like if you, and I encourage you, us to all remain in awareness, and if we simply open as each person shares what, and if they, for example, share their aspiration or the way they hope to be of service or whatever, we can allow their words to just flow through us and evoke the qualities that they're aspiring to in ourselves. And of course, other people may have questions, and those can work their effects on us too. Other people may have comments, whatever. But just to stay open and let each of us contribute to each other. So please, your sharing would be a gift, and Mel's reminded me to, if you'd like to comment, to raise your virtual hand. I think Deborah.
Thank you, Roger. I really wanted to express how deeply moved I am and was with your analogy of the rudder and the trim tab. Because the world, the universe, all of it is the rudder that we see is impossible, we perceive as impossible to move. And then understanding that each one of us is the little trim tab, that by the little things that we do can change the world.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks. I hadn't thought of us each as a trim tab, but yeah, of course.
So that's kind of like the little butterfly effect with the wings, in China changing. Yeah, and I'm an engineer by training, so that really, I really got that one. So I really appreciate that.
Well, we owe gratitude to Buckminster Fuller. That was his part of his genius, that one. But it's a beautiful image.
And thank you for expressing it to us. That made a lot of difference to me.
Great, Deborah. Was there something you were feeling called to contribute yourself?
I have been having a little bit of an issue with something as simple as my landscaping, and I've been dealing with a particular set of people who just appear to be not very focused, and I have been struggling because I don't want to damage them with my untrained mind. So I've been struggling with, how can I communicate to them what my needs are in a loving way. And so that
Beautiful.
really helped me. And so, I struggle inside, running around like, oh God, whatever. And then I say to myself, well, you don't want to damage those people. They're good people. They just don't understand what it is that you need. So be kind to let them know what it is that you need. And they're either going to do it or they're not. If they do, great. If they don't, I would just move on.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Oh, please.
If you're unfamiliar with the raise hand function, for me, it's under React. And down at the bottom there, it says raise hand. Sometimes if you just wave your hand, it'll light up.
Let's see. It'll put us back on. Everyone. Silence, it feels like. Silent. Let's see. Well, maybe we'll move back into, let's see, we have a few minutes, so maybe, it's almost time. So, Susan Woodland. Yeah, please, Susan.
So thank you, Lama Roger. This speaks to my heart muchly, this service. And I'll just share with the group that I had brought my usual archetypal form, Padmasambhava, to my, as the image you suggested.
And when you asked,
but when you asked us to feel it in the body, and I was like, okay. And immediately I did not bring my hand up, but I was like, oh, I'm holding the sword. I had a wisdom, a Manjushri kind of experience of the body. And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. Um, yeah, so thank you for that. And thank you for the connecting with the body because it was telling me something different. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, it's really valuable when you cultivate a particular quality. You know, if you're doing loving kindness or compassion, or in this case, some particular capacity that was unique to each of us, it's really helpful to pay attention to the body, and we didn't do this, but also to the face, and just first tune into the body and feel each emotion, each quality, psychological quality, capacity, has its own unique psychosomatic expression. And so there's a particular set of muscle tension patterns and posture that goes with each quality. And if you tune into that and then slightly exaggerate it, then you amplify the quality. And then you can re-evoke the quality by either the psychological, or contemplative ways in which we did, or you can just put yourself back in that body posture. There's also a particular facial expression. You probably, if we'd taken the time to just tune into the particular facial expression that goes with a particular quality you were cultivating, you probably would have felt, oh yeah, there's a particular pattern of muscle relaxation, tensions, etc. Again, a unique psychosomatic fingerprint or expression of each quality, and you can just amplify that a little. So you can play with these, cultivating these virtues, these capacities, love, kindness, generosity, whatever it is, either initially through the kind of contemplative approach we use, but then you can use the body too. Yeah. Thank you, Suzanne. Yeah. Let's see. We have a couple of minutes. Yeah, Fiona, hi.
Hi, Roger Walsh. It's such a lovely teaching that you gave, and so many
Uh,
moved me. I came to this practice late in life, and I was looking for answers. And a lot of what I found is not taking myself so seriously and letting go. And so when you say what calls me, I think, okay, but I'm old now. And how that doesn't work for me. But I think about, well, how can I be of service? Well, I have a mindset of I'm too old. At 80, the warranty runs out. I'm falling apart. How can I feel that I have the ability to be a trim tab still? That even whatever my physical state is, that my aspiration is just as committed as it was when I was 20
yeah.
to be of service, but it's like, stay out of the way. That's the best service I can do right now. So I wonder if you have anything,
Well,
those of us who are past our warranty to
Well,
get
I don't know.
committed to finding out maybe there's a little bit of life left still that I could surface.
Well, I guess by some standards, a lot of people would think I'm past my warranty too, but I don't choose to believe that. So I think this is obviously would be a very rich conversation, Fiona. I think one thing would be really valuable to do would be to take a look at limiting beliefs. And, beliefs are enormously powerful. They are, and our beliefs about ourselves, our self-beliefs, basically can be self-fulfilling prophecies. There's a saying from Henry Ford, actually, those who believe they can do something and those who believe they can't are both right. And it's really important to be aware of our limiting beliefs. The beliefs, and all of us have constellations of them. I'm to this, I'm to that, I could never, all the ways in which we limit ourselves and constrict ourselves. And so I would really encourage you to take a look at the limiting beliefs which you are assuming to be true. And a belief is a thought that one assumes to be true. But the belief, well, I'm too old to make a contribution, can be either, I'm too old to make a contribution, or it can be, that's a curious thought. So I would really encourage you to take up a practice of inquiry into identifying self-limiting beliefs as they come up. And they come up for every one of us. They're inevitable for all of us have our limiting beliefs. And a beautiful and very powerful practice is just to make a commitment every time a self-belief comes up as a limiting self-belief, to notice it and just say, oh, that's just a thought. I have a choice. I can believe that and I will be limited, or I can rise, oh, that's just a thought. I wonder what else is possible. So, in the limited time we have, I would just encourage you to take up the practice of inquiring into identifying limiting beliefs. And someone saying something very beautiful, a smile, it disappeared. A smile, a kind word, was as much as I caught. But yeah. And I think it's really important to hold a big picture perspective too, and that is, from the big picture perspective, anything that any of us do will probably seem insignificant. Yeah. And Gandhi said anything, Gandhi, who changed the world, said anything you do will seem insignificant, but it's really important you do it. So just a very beautiful, to recognize, there's always something I can do. And I only caught the part of the message that someone put up about the beauty of smiling to someone, just opening a conversation with someone. Those are the things we can do, all of us do. And so maybe two things then: doing a practice of recognizing limiting beliefs, and also just recognizing, small. As Mother Teresa said, small acts with great kindness. Small acts with great kindness. Yeah. I'm just looking around this group and seeing so many, people I know, so much wisdom here, and just thinking, boy, everyone probably has something I could respond to here. But thank you all very much for this chance to be together. We're about out of time, and even receiving care from others can be a service. Yes, being open to being served. Ram Dass, after he had his stroke, said, "It's so much easier to be a helper than a helpee." He said, "My practice is being a helpee, letting people help me. I've spent my life helping people, but I have trouble being helped. So that's my practice." Yeah. Thank you all. So beautiful to see you, and what a gift. And I take inspiration from thinking of each of you going out into our troubled world and making your little contributions, and sometimes not so little, to people, and bringing a little more joy, a little less suffering, a little lightness wherever you go. Beautiful. As Carl Rogers said once, when I look at the world, I feel hopeless. But when I'm with individual people, I feel hopeful. And being with you, I feel hopeful. So thank you very much. Let's take a moment to dedicate the benefits of our practice. And may all that we have shared and learned and done and enjoyed and open to, may it all serve our welfare and awakening and the cultivation of beneficial qualities in us, so that we may become ever more effective instruments of help and healing and awakening in the world. May it be so. Thank you so much. What a gift to be with you.